Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Talks between Afghanistan and Pakistan in Istanbul to broker a long-term truce have ended without a resolution. This comes as a blow for peace in the region after deadly clashes this month. After 3 days of negotiations, the two sides failed to reach any agreement. Both agreed to a ceasefire brokered in Doha on the 19th of October, but could not find common ground in a second round of talks mediated by Turkey and Qatar in Istanbul. Afghan and Pakistani sources briefed on the issue said with each blaming the other for the failure. Both countries are blaming each other for the failure. Turkish and Qatari officials who were also hosting the negotiations sought a compromise, and they are said to be still negotiating for a breakthrough. But for now, the talks are stuck. While Pakistan maintains the Taliban had been unwilling to commit to rein in the Pakistani Taliban, Afghanistan maintains that they had ended the talks after tense exchanges over the issue. The October clashes began after Pakistan airstrikes in Kabul this month. The Afghan capital, amongst other locations, was targeted, which was the head of the Pakistani Taliban. Pakistan's defense minister said he believed that Afghanistan wanted peace, but that failure to reach an agreement in Istanbul would mean open war. Joining us to discuss this issue further is Major General Gigi Dwivedi, strategic affairs expert. Major General A.K. Sivaj, defense expert, also joins us live. Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, is with us on the broadcast as well. Let me make a start with you first. Professor Nalapat, the Sunday Guardian has done a big exclusive on this, getting a scoop on the talks, the failure, and what has led to this impasse. Professor Nalapat.
Look, the fact of the matter is that today's Taliban is not the Taliban of yesteryears, which frankly the Pakistan army used to dominate and control. Because at that point in time, the Taliban, frankly, were not strong enough to resist the kind of my overlordship of the Pakistan military. Today's Taliban is very, very different. They are got memories of that period when they were very young. Now they have taken charge, and they don't want any overlordship anymore. You must understand, Uday, that the Pashtuns are a very proud people. I think in terms of different ethnic groups, the Pashtuns are extremely proud, right among the top, and they will not accept the overlordship of any country. Be it the United States, they did not, as you know. Be it China, have been trying for overlordship and is failing, or Pakistan, which had overlordship during the first Taliban period. There is a second Taliban period, and this is a very different Taliban. At that point in time, the younger elements who saw the influence of the overlordship of the Pakistan military, the younger elements, frankly, they were determined that this will never again happen to Afghanistan, and it has not happened. The Pakistan military is used to the earlier period, or it wants to go back to the earlier period. Unfortunately, they have some success on that in Bangladesh, but I think even that is going to be reversed quite soon, because the economy there is almost the same position as Pakistan's own economy, is near collapse. So I would like to say, Uday, I'm not surprised, but I congratulate, both the ITV channel for having broken the story. But the reality situation is that Afghanistan will not bend to the dictates of Pakistan. Now, you can argue that the Pakistan military can again bomb, etc. But the reality is that there is a very big Pashtun population throughout Pakistan, including Rawalpindi, Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, you name it. And frankly, if you block access to Afghanistan through Pakistan, apart from the fact, of course, the Chabahar is there, but the reality is that the Pashtuns will not take it lightly, and I think they are going to resort to extreme measures, and the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan activity that you're seeing will multiply by tenfold. So I don't think Pakistan military can take that risk. It's already highly stretched, and therefore I have a feeling that this is going to basically result in some kind of a stalemate. But quite honestly, to expect the Pakistan army to once more dominate the Taliban as they used to in the 1980s is to ask for too much. The Pakistan army was precisely aiming for that in the talks. They were not a fair negotiation. There was a negotiation where the Pakistan military thought they were the masters and the Taliban should be a servant. The Taliban will not accept the servant being that status of anyone, any country, however large, much less a small country, relatively small country like Pakistan. So that is why these talks are broken down. And I personally believe that I don't think the Pakistan military has many arrows in its quiver. Any more of these attacks as they did on Kabul, and you are going to get a fierce response from the Pashtuns in Pakistan, and that is going to happen pretty soon. They have been planning for it. They've been preparing for it. They've been preparing the situation in which there is an effort to establish overlordship over them, but they have not so far activated it sufficiently. The Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan will be replicated by other groups in different parts of Pakistan, including in Punjab, Pakistan, Punjab. And therefore, in my view, Uday, I don't think the Pakistan military can go very far in its effort to subdue the Afghans. They have to live with the fact that Afghanistan today is independent of Pakistan. Afghanistan will not listen to Pakistan, and they may have had some temporary success in Bangladesh, but even that is going to be reversed, in my view, before not very long. So in Afghanistan, there is no question that the Pakistan military will never regain the strong hold it had, the grip it had on the Taliban that it had in the previous Taliban during the 1980s when the Soviet Union was the enemy. And in fact, the Taliban overcame the Soviet Union. Then George Bush came and then tried to, George W. Bush, not the senior Bush, again tried to subdue the Taliban. He also failed. And finally, Biden had to withdraw in disgrace, leaving behind billions of dollars of equipment and billions of dollars worth of US infrastructure. So if you look at the Soviet Union was very powerful, a superpower. The US is a superpower, and the Taliban were able to subdue both superpowers. Why Pakistan thought it had a chance, I cannot say, Uday. Thank you.
All right, let me quickly, in fact, now draw in Major General Dwivedi as well into the conversation. Major General Dwivedi, what do you believe has led these talks to hit the roadblock that they have, and where do you see this conflict then headed?
Can you repeat your question again, Uday, because there is some audio problem there, right?
Major General Dwivedi, are you able to hear me, sir?
I am okay. Your audio is slightly disturbed.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Are you able to hear me?
I just got the generally what you are.
Yes, I'm trying to ask you about what,
first and foremost,
which way the conflict is now headed, and what has led to this roadblock in the talks.
Unexpected, because the kind of distrust and kind of divergence the two sides have, well, no one expected the talks to actually fructify into some kind of agreement. The most important point is that I think Pakistan whole calculation on Taliban 2.0 has gone all right, because their assumption was threefold. Firstly, Taliban will accept the Durand line, then they will act against the Taliban, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and of course they will ensure that India is out of Kabul. But none of these things have fructified, and therefore Pakistan actually today is in a very, very sticky wicket. The second point is that Pakistan has tried to dominate Afghanistan, and in the effort they have only destabilized themselves, because they thought that they can use their air power, they can use their military might, but that has not worked. Well, Taliban may not have the air power, but if it comes to ground fighting, and which have been proved, the Pakistan army is no match for battle-hardened Taliban. So therefore, I don't think Taliban is going to oblige Pakistan in any one of their three stated aims. Now, what exactly is the situation on the ground? The first and foremost is that Taliban has made it very clear that any agreement will not be on the terms of Pakistan. The agreement will be on their terms. Secondly, They also made it very clear that Durand line is actually non-negotiable. You know, if this ceasefire was negotiated in Qatar, and there they had used that there will be de-escalation on the border, and they have to change that word border because Taliban said that there is nothing known as border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And two more points which I wish to actually bring out. Today, Taliban is reaching out. They have their own, aims and objectives. And case in point, their foreign minister was in India. They are opening out to a lot of others, and they are not, going into the Pakistani fold. And the second issue that we have to accept is that Pashtun nationalism is very paramount. Pashtun on both sides of the Durand line, they are one as far as their aspiration and nationalism is concerned. So what I feel, Uday, that this effort of trying to broker agreement or long-term agreement not going to fructify, there is a temporary pause that is there, but I don't think the issues that are there on the table, the kind of divergence that is there between the two sides, I don't think there's any chance for long-term peace, and we'll see more volatility in case Pakistan tries to dominate Afghanistan, because their retaliation on the ground is going to be very, very intense, and Pakistan army is not used to fighting such intense battles. Uday.
All right, let me take that, in fact, to Major Leke Sivach as well. Major Leke Sivach, where do you see the conflict now headed, given this stalemate in the talks, although efforts are still on from the part of the negotiators, Turkey and Qatar?
Uday, again, the same thing. I suppose there is some disturbance as far as your connection concerned, but nonetheless, I've got the theme of what you have said. You know, the talks which are taking place in Turkey now, it has failed, but both sides, the diplomats are still there. They're hoping that some sort of agreement, they may achieve it in a day or two. But all said and done, the chances of getting any breakthrough are very less. As brought out by General Dwivedi also, there are basically deep fault lines between both of them, because Afghanistan does not recognize Durand line, and the Pashtun on the either side want to join Afghanistan, and they want to bring Sharia law. So that's the main issue. Afghanistan is not going to compromise on that. They say what Durand line, which was thrown or which was forced upon by the British India at that point of time, 1893, is not acceptable to them. The second issue which is there is they are not accepting that they are giving basis to Taliban, Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan. In fact, they are telling to Pakistan they are giving basis to Islamic State Khorasan, which is having bases in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and they are striking in Afghanistan. So the point is the fault lines are so deep, the chances of their long-term truce is very, very less. Now the point comes is what will be its implication? That's very, very important. Remember what was Afghanistan trying to do in Pakistan was trying to do in Afghanistan. It knows that it is a landlocked country. It was trying to exploit that because most of the trade of Afghanistan goes via Pakistan. But now when we have given them another connectivity via Chabahar, that is Iran, we have connected by a road and rail link from Iran to Afghanistan, then to Central Asian state, and then further going to North-South transport corridor. We have assured Afghanistan that they need not worry. We will ensure that you get this connectivity which is far greater and which will give you a more flexibility. Point number one. Point number two is what is happening in the US. If you see, Donald Trump is now trying to convey that he has stopped 9 wars, and he will also try to mediate between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Let's see how things unfold. To me, it looks like that things are very, very unlikely to fall in place. Now, as far as India is concerned, how does it have an impact on India? You see, as far as India is concerned, relations between India and Afghanistan are upswing. We have invested $3 billion there. Amir Khan Matki, who is acting foreign minister, has come here, and we will like this relation to grow up, because we want Pakistan to bleed in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, and also Afghanistan should not be their friend. because they wanted Afghanistan, land to be used as a strategic depth, which has not happened. Now we are going to have a tri-Shakti, which is now making Pakistan jittery because they are very thin on ground on their eastern border. Now the other issue as far as India is concerned is India is telling to the whole world what Afghanistan is saying that as far as Pakistan is concerned, is hub center of terrorism. We have been telling to the world that Lashkar-e-Toba Jaise Mohammed is been trained, financed by the Pakistan itself, and hence Financial Action Task Force should again put them on the grey list. So whatever we have been telling is what Afghanistan is also now trying to project to the whole world. Now the question comes is, if this war continues or the peace talks fail completely and there is a full-fledged war between Pakistan and Afghanistan, Pakistan economy is going to crumble. As it is, their economy is in a bad state. There is economic crisis there. There is political instability. The terrorism is increasing manifold in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. And now Tehreek-e-Labad Pakistan is also become very, very active. Now in that scenario, how will they face Afghanistan? Because the troops in Afghanistan, they are very good in guerrilla warfare. They may not have air power, but on dual line, they have already occupied 18 posts of Pakistan and about 70
Yes.
to 80 Pakistani soldiers killed. So all said and done, to me it looks like that the chances of having any sort of a breakthrough are very less, and it looks like that Afghanistan is not going to cow down. It is not going to be dictated by the Pakistan. They are ready to respond and respond it with strength. Uday.
All right. I believe Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, former diplomat, has also joined the discussion. Ambassador Sachdev, what is your view on these talks breakdown, this Sunday Guardian exclusive? What has led to the talks failing according to you? And do you see them, coming back on track anytime soon?
Thank you for having me. Finally, we can all hear you proper. The reply to your question cannot be given in a monosyllable. I believe what the other panelists have said, the locus is on the side of Afghan-Pakistan situation deteriorating. That may be true, but I think there is an upside to it. Both countries have their limits. Pakistan cannot fight a longish war across such a long frontier and porous one at that. Secondly, Afghanistan is highly dependent on Pakistan for trade, for supplies. It needs food, it needs medicines, it needs almost everything. That has to come through Pakistan. Following President Trump's denial of exemption to Chabahar port, the activities, to my understanding, are stymied, and it's not going to, till that exemption is given, and that is a big question vis-a-vis Iran and US relations. I think Afghanistan's dependence on Pakistan is near absolute. The Iranians have their own sanctions to cope with, so it is not. Tehran is not going to offer much of a panacea except their own goods, oil and petroleum products, etc., may come through. But otherwise, Afghan dependence on Pakistan is quite severe. Then again, I think both sides have reasons to defer to UAE and Turkey, Qatar and Turkey, I should say, although UAE is also a factor, because they are both dependent on these two countries' goodwill. Pakistan depends on Turkey for various things, and Afghans don't have much of too many friends in the world, while Qatar and Turkey have reasonable semblance of ties with them, with direct flights, etc. So they would not like to antagonize them. So I believe both these countries are going to sort of press Kabul and Islamabad all over again to have uh, talks at various levels. And I believe the attempt would be to have this ceasefire in place, temporary ceasefire, to be extended periodically, while long-term ceasefire based on removal of the various reservations that the two sides have may or may not be possible. Uday, that's my take.
Yes, let me quickly come back to you then, Major General Dwivedi, on, of course, this phone call as well. Do you believe it was one phone call that led to the collapse, as being suggested by the Sunday Guardian in this exclusive? Or was it a chain of developments? This abrupt U-turn has shocked many.
Well, Uday, again, there was certain amount of disturbance in your audio, but I got the essence. The point is that these talks, as it appeared, were going to some conclusive end, but then this phone call has derailed. I think there are 2-3 conjecturing that can be done. Firstly, is that Pakistani general, I think his name is Aslam, who was heading the delegation. As far as Taliban are concerned, they said that he was very arrogant, very rude, undiplomatic, trying to force his way through, and also he didn't have very clear mandate from the top, from the GHQ Rawalpindi, as to how far he can go. The second point is that as far as Taliban are concerned, they have made it very clear that they have no control over Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan, and they cannot agree to any kind of a written statement or written clause that they will ensure that there is no offensive action from Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan. And the third point is they wanted a very categorical assurance from Pakistan that they will not violate their airspace, because which is one that Pakistan has the advantage, because as far as Afghanistan is concerned, they have no air capability. So I think these 2-3 things actually have come where the talks have got stalled, but primarily the aggressive approach of Pakistan, their undiplomatic behavior on the table has upset Taliban delegation. But the sticking point is Taliban is not willing to give any written assurance that they will control Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan, because that is the trump card against the underground or against the militant groups that Pakistan is trying to pitch against them. So I also go along with Ambassador's conclusion that we may see temporary pause in the violence or hostility, but the long-term solution, I think, is a very distant call. Uday.
All right, let me quickly take that to you as well then, Major General Sivach, on, of course, the fighting. Do you expect the fighting to intensify in the next few days? What are we expecting in the next 48 hours?
Uday, the fighting can only intensify if the talks fail completely. Because there is hope, because both the delegation party are still there in Turkey, and Qatar and Turkey both are very keen that some sort of understanding reach between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Both countries have a lot of interest, and Turkey is of late having a lot of interest in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan has got a lot of minerals. China has got a lot of interest there. Now, newfound interest is also of US, because the US wants Bagram Air Base again. So considering this, to me it looks like they will make an effort. They will make an effort to have at least sort of temporary ceasefire. But all said and done, in case if the ceasefire fail, then you'll find intensity of conflict on the border area on Durand line will increase tremendously, and you will find it the guerrillas, Taliban will strike Pakistan force, especially on Durand line, because they are very good in fighting in as far as the guerrilla tactics are concerned. But Pakistan may use their air power because they are very strong on that. Afghanistan lack air defense. Afghanistan lack also the air power. So the situation is becoming very fluid. To me, it looks like that 3-4 things will again happen now. One has to understand. Once the ambassador was telling that yes, there is almost 100% dependency of Afghanistan on Pakistan. I suppose that Pakistan should realize it that it can't dictate terms on Afghanistan, because Afghanistan will not remain under the thumb of Pakistan for long. There will be some, alternate connectivity, especially when we are Chabar. Pressure will be put on US also, because this not only connects Afghanistan, it connects Central Asian state and North-South transport corridor. So Pakistan cannot dictate terms with Afghanistan, not with the Taliban government. So therefore, the chances of this ceasefire holding on for too long are very less, because the point comes is that the basically red lines are the Durand line, which is not recognized by Afghanistan. And second issue is they are not ready to give them anything in writing, that they will not give basis to TTP. In fact, they deny that there are bases in TTP which are given by Afghanistan. In fact, they are countering it of Pakistan by saying that they are the one which have given basis to Islamic State Khorasan, which is now striking the Taliban or Afghanistan certain strategic assets. So the point is there is a lot of distrust between both the countries, and also the reason is simple as that the red lines and the fault lines are so deep. The chances of this ceasefire, in case if it takes also holding on for too long, are very less, Uday.
All right, let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this broadcast. We are slipping into a very short break.
MDH केसर का हो बहाना